we doing, peeps? Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Adam's Eats. What are we going to do today? Okay, well, I'm going to start a playlist for a Sunday lunch. Originally I thought, well, maybe I could just make a Sunday lunch and just do it all together and then film it, but that would just be knackering for me. I'd just be all this stuff going on everywhere. So I thought, why not split it up into each individual components? So last week I did Yorkshire puddings, and this week I'm going to do roast potatoes. So as the series goes along, there'll be all sorts of different things. So I'll do vegetable dishes, and of course the meat. So I'll do beef, chicken, there'll be all sorts of different things. So I'll make a separate playlist as I get more videos come along. So keep an eye out for that. Right, let's talk roast spuds. Okay, who loves them? I do, of course. And what's the best way to make them? Well, actually, it's relatively easy, providing you follow a few simple steps. It's not a case of just, well, I could go to the supermarket, get any old potato, chuck it in a pan, and I'll get crispy roast potatoes, and they'll be nice and fluffy in the middle. That is just not going to happen. My nanny used to make the best roast potatoes in the world. She died a couple of years ago. We miss her dearly, but one of the things that I always remember as a kid was going to stay over at hers, and on a Sunday we'd have a roast dinner, all the family together, and I'd be chowing down these roast spuds. I'd nick my granddad's, I'd nick my dad's, I'd nick my uncle's, I'd be just in everybody's plate. So she made the best ones, and she was harangued quite a lot by the family to tell us how she made them, and she used to tell us, but could we get them exactly the same? Well, of course we couldn't. She had her way of doing it, and we just could not replicate it. But one thing I did learn, and I have learnt over the years, is it all depends on the type of potato you use, and to a degree, the fat that you use. Now for this recipe I'm going to use Desiree, they're red potatoes. You can also use King Edward's and Maris Piper. Those are kind of the three most common potato varieties. They're easily available in the supermarket, you can pick them up, no problem at all. Desiree potato, right, that's what it looks like, red skinned, and that's what we're going to use. Right, so here we have our spuds. Now, just bought a bag of them, and I took out some of the bigger ones, because I was thinking, you know, when you make a roast spud, you want a decent size, no piddly little tiny things, because they're just going to burn up and just be not very nice at all. So I just picked out some of the bigger ones. Now, no exact measurements really, just go by ratio. Say you've got potato that size, you're going to cut that in half, so that's 2 roast spuds. Go for a ratio of 4 roast spuds per person, say, then you can work out how many whole potatoes you'll need. And the fat I'm going to use is goose fat. Now, you can use duck fat, you can use olive oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, but I find goose fat or duck fat works best because it imparts a nice flavour to the potatoes, and it just helps them get really, really crispy. So that's what I'm going to use, and that's it. Bit of salt for seasoning the water, and also just before you put them in the pan. That's kind of all you'll need really. You can add extra things to the pan as they're roasting if you want. Add some herbs in there, some rosemary's really nice, just tear that in. Some thyme, again, put some of that in, mix it all up if you want to make something different. Even some whole bulbs of garlic will go really nice. So yeah, just, you know, make it your own. Right, so I'm going to get these potatoes peeled up, and I'm going to cut them in half, and then we'll crack on. Okie doke, right, so our spuds are nice and chopped, and we're going to just put these in the sink, and you're just going to run some cold water over these, let the pan overflow, because what we're going to try and do is wash some of that starch off. So just start the water going and leave that to run for a minute or so, and then we'll fill the pan up and we'll get them on the stove. Right, so what I've got here, I've got the pan on the heat, medium heat, and you want to bring these potatoes to the boil, and I've added some salt. Now, when you add the salt, what you want to do is add as much as you think you need, and then double that. I know it seems like a lot of salt, but what that does is it helps make the potatoes really, really crispy. So I've added to this amount of water probably about 1.5 teaspoons. So yeah, add the salt, bring these to the boil, and you want to bring them till they're about just almost cooked. You want to be able to put a fork or a knife in, and it pulls out easily, and there's just a little bit of resistance. You can take them a little bit further, but be careful, because if you cook them too much, when you come to roast them, they'll fall apart in the pan, they'll break up, and you'll end up with little bits. The idea of these is you want them, the outside to be cooked and the middle to still be just firm. So yeah, we'll come back in about, say, 15 minutes. We'll see how these are getting on, and hopefully they'll be ready for the oven. Alright, so we're about halfway through the parboiling process, and I'm just going to test these with a knife, see how they're getting on. Yeah. They're just going through the surface. They're not quite ready yet, but they're almost there. I'd say another 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes, and these should be ready. Right, so it's been about another 5, 6 minutes. I think, yeah, these are done. Now the knife is going about halfway into the spud with relative ease. This signifies to me that they are ready to go. So over to the sink and we'll drain them. Alright, so we'll drain these into a colander through the sink, like so. Now, another little tip for you here is a lot of people, they'll drain the potatoes, they'll put them straight into a pot, put a lid on, and then start roughing them up. I don't do that. What I tend to do is I'll leave them in the colander for another 5 minutes or so all that steam disappears. Because what that does, it just dries the potato out, because you want them to be as dry as possible. So by doing that, you allow all the steam to evaporate, then put them in the pan, then rough them up, and then we'll put them in the oven. Right, so whilst your potatoes are sitting there letting the steam come off, you want to preheat your oven to around about gas mark 6, which I think is about 200 degrees centigrade. Excuse the difference in sound quality if you're hearing it. My lapel mic has got a little bit of a problem. Don't know, there's something up with it. So I've had to switch back to my shotgun mic, which is on the top. So somehow I've got to fix that. But yeah, preheat your oven, and hopefully the potatoes should be ready by now. Okay, right, so potatoes have been sitting in the colander for a few minutes, and I've just transferred them to a pan, put a lid on, and now you just want to give them a good old shake. And what this does is it bruises up the edges. That's kind of what you're looking for. Don't know if you can see that. See how they're kind of fluffy around the edge? That's what you want. Okay. Right, so now what we want to do is pop some goose fat into our baking tray. You don't want too much. What you're kind of looking for is just a layer across the bottom. So I'm going to probably use maybe 2, 3 dessert spoons, something like that. Now you want to pop your tray in the hot oven that you've preheated, just for 5 minutes or so, just so that the oil starts to get hot, because then we'll put the potatoes in and we'll roast them. Right, so after a few minutes, oil should be nice and hot. Dump in your potatoes. Whoa, that's really hot. Like that. Now you just want to turn these over in the oil nice and gently. You can see a couple of them have just sort of broken up. If you get 1 or 2 casualties, that's fine. I'm sure you can live with yourself. Okay, so just turn them in the oil. Now they want to go back in the oven for about 15-20 minutes, which is the halfway point, at which time we'll take them out and we'll have a look, and we'll just give them another little turn, cook them again for another, say, 20 minutes or so, and they should be done. Alright, so about halfway through, I've taken these out. They're just starting to take a bit of colour on, and I'm just going to turn these over. Okay, and we'll pop these back in again for, say, another 20-30 minutes, something like that. And we'll come back and see how they're getting on. Right, so these have been in for, what do I say, 40-50 minutes, something like that in total. I've turned them a few times, extra just to get some more of the goose fat just coated over the potatoes. But they're done. And what I'm going to do now is take some kitchen roll. And I'm just going to pop these on some kitchen roll, like so, just to take off some of that excess oil. Right, so they're done. All I did was I just served them up into a bowl. And yeah, can't really try one right now because they're stupidly hot. But I might be able to just pick one up and just show you a crisp test. Listen to this. Ouch! You see, things I do for you. Holding really hot potatoes for you guys. Hear that? Ooh. Yeah. Ah. Jesus. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Again, apologies for the audio halfway through the video. Turns out my lapel mic is actually completely knackered, so I've had to order a new one, which should be with me in the next few days. So normality will resume. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.